Hello, everyone, and welcome to our IBM Planning Analytics webcast. My name is Candace Taylor, and I am the Director of Marketing for Cresco International, and I will be the host and moderator for today's webcast. We first want to start off by thanking you all for joining. A quick note before we get started, we will be recording the webcast, and we will send out a link of the recording to everyone as soon as it is available. Also, please feel free to ask questions throughout the webcast today by using the questions section on your control panel on your screen. We will review all questions during the Q&A portion of the webcast. Our agenda for this webcast today is Sanjeev Datta. He's the practice director for Cresco, and he will briefly review what IBM Planning Analytics is. And then we'll pass the floor over to Michael Makavicius, who is the product specialist for IBM Planning Analytics, who will be providing an in-depth demo on the new IBM Planning Analytics during the webcast. We will then finish the webinar off with some information on licensing and, of course, a Q&A section. Therefore, at this point, I would like to now send it over to Sanjeev to start the webcast. Sanjeev?
Hey, thank you, Candace. Welcome, everyone. And just wanted to let you guys know we have a demo planned, and we do have a question and answer session, so we'll be very happy to answer your questions. I'm sure there will be quite a few since we are one of the first ones launching this webcast. Still a lot of information that is coming in, but we wanted to make sure we give it out to you guys and make sure that if you have any questions, we're always here. We've got the expertise to help answer these questions. So let's get started with what is planning analytics. So first of all, it is a fast, easy, and flexible way of doing planning and analytics on a cloud solution. So typically it helps finance organizations drive greater process efficiency and deliver the foresight they need to steer their business performance. So what it actually has is a high-speed data engine which allows for real-time reporting, right? Real-time financial reporting has inbuilt reporting capabilities along with Watson Analytics, which gives it the visualization layer. So where Watson Analytics comes in, it offers this natural language and guided discovery of data that is simple to use, it's easy to collaborate with within your organization, and it does have certain aspects of the IBM cognitive computing from Watson. So this solution will not only automate a lot of the manual tasks that you're probably doing today, but also goes beyond the automation by providing the self-service analytics capability where you can go out there and discover new insights directly by yourself as a self-service application tool. So it definitely does improve the decision making and, most importantly, the quality of data that you're now looking at. It provides agility, so if you have plans and you have analysis with changing conditions, all of these get aligned to your operational and external market events. And it does apply foresight. So foresight meaning if this is a multidimensional analysis product, it allows for a high user base, has data exploration with visual aids such as scorecards and dashboards, and it also works with Excel interfaces. So if you're someone who's an Excel jockey and is used to using Excel, you do have the option of using Excel as an interface as well, and it very seamlessly integrates with internal and external data. So that's what we look at in the next slide. So who is this used for, planning analytics? So if you've got a TM1, it is, I would say, another layer added to TM1, but it makes it much, much more capable with the available Cognos reporting and the Watson Analytics tied to it. It is used in most cases with the Office of Finance and line of business organizations where they want to improve their cycle times and staff around the planning, budgeting, and forecasting, as well as reporting, right? So a lot of times we see that these departments are doing a lot of manual work. They're buried deep with spreadsheets and spreadsheet-based processes of collecting, consolidating, validating as well. And so a lot of times what happens is, and we've seen this in the past with so many of our customers, where they don't have the time to actually deliver their plans and budgets on time. And so that's why product like planning analytics, comes in to help the situation. So it can be used for mid-sized companies where we would say they're define mid-size as less than 100 users, and it can also go to large enterprises as well. So today, some of the biggest companies are using products like financial planning from IBM, right? And also it improves the budgeting and planning system. As I mentioned before, it helps creating those dashboards and can take your financial data and add a visualization layer as well, right? So the other thing that's very interesting is now you have this cloud, planning analytics on the cloud, which from a finance organization, I say makes life much easier because this tool is more of a finance-owned application and finance-used. There were some components of having IT manage the environment or having IT, get you with the latest version, apply hot fixes. Not anymore. You do have the option of using the cloud, where the software is hosted on IBM's cloud, and we'll talk more about that on the next slide. So what we have is we've got, Mike, next slide, please. Okay, there we go. So I wanted to before Mike gets into the demo, I wanted to show you a quick slide deck of what the interface looks like. So this is more of the Watson Analytics workspace, which, as you can see, it provides you that rich visualization, rich reporting, where you can synchronize your objects from any data source. You can organize into multi-tabbed workbooks. You can collaborate and share. You can basically apply pins to any work that you've been working on, and bring those pins right onto this workspace so that you can slowly build your dashboard. And then also, what's really cool about the Watson Analytics feature, it gives you that natural language discovery and manipulation. So as and when you're loading data or Watson Analytics is accessing data, it reads the data and potentially asks you, is this what you're looking for? That makes it very valuable and very powerful. Next slide, please. So how do you get started with this? You basically start off with a project. So those of you who have worked with Watson Analytics before can relate to this. For those of you who haven't, it's a web-based reporting visualization, I would say, offering. And it allows you to start with a project. You can use templates that will help in accelerating your design. You can select what kind of visualizations you want. And as and when you're doing that, you're actually building your dashboard and your scorecard and adding intelligence to it. So these are kind of the steps that will walk you through how to actually use this. Very easy to use, very intuitive. People who use it usually get this in less than a day and start using this application on themselves. All right, next slide. So before we get into the demo, I'm going to pass this on to Candice, and Candice is going to put up a poll question for us. And the question is, are you considering to migrate your current analytics software onto a cloud platform? So Candice, there you go.
Thanks, Sanjeev. So I just launched the poll, so if everyone could fill out yes or no to this question, and we'll just take a quick minute here to let you guys do this. Okay, I'm going to now close the poll. And it looks like the results are showing on your screen, Sanjeev.
All right, excellent. So we see 36% of you are looking to migrate. Well, that's great. We want to show you the product next. Mike is going to take over and go over the presentation of the demo. I'm going to take it back, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about the benefits of cloud versus on-prem. So Mike, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Sanjeev. All right, let me just get rid of some of this stuff. Oh, hold on. Minimize that. All right. So I am going to give a demo today of Planning Analytics, the new IBM Planning Analytics Cloud offering for TM1. Basically, it's a 100% web-based, browser-based. You simply open your browser, You log in. This would be a very similar login if you were logging into Cognos Analytics, which is the BI platform, or Watson Analytics. You simply log in with your user ID and password. Now, because this is a cloud solution, if you acquire it, basically the cloud ops team at IBM will have you fill out a questionnaire. Once you fill out that questionnaire, you will then be provided the URL links and your user IDs and passwords to access Planning Analytics. And this is the screen that you get when you access Planning Analytics. So what you have here is you have the building, so you start building your dashboards and your scorecards, your entry portals here in this Planning Analytics tab, and I'm going to spend the majority of the presentation there. You also, when you buy Planning Analytics, get the Cognos BI component with it, as well as Watson Analytics with it. So, for example, if I open this Report tab, it's going to open up Cognos BI, and from this you'll get the full capabilities of Cognos BI on top of the TM1 data only. Right now you can see, for those of you who are familiar with the Cognos BI offering, this is the older version, the 10.2.2 version. The new version of Cognos Analytics will eventually come with Planning Analytics. This does not yet, but it is on its way. It will be available within a few months. And then, of course, I could also open up Watson Analytics from the Planning Analytics screen. And I was already logged into, so if you're not already logged in, it's going to ask you to log into Watson Analytics. If you're already logged in, then you'll have access to it, and you can go ahead and start building your Watson Analytics components here. Seeing that this is not a BI or a Watson demo, I just wanted to show you that when you buy Planning Analytics, you get these two components with it. Again, keep in mind, you get the full capabilities. The restriction is it's only off of TM1 data. So it's only off the data that you bring into TM1. Additionally, down here, you have what are called saved content, or what you've already built in Planning Analytics. You also have your workspace where you can actually see some of that. So you can put it into your own personal workspace, or you can have it in a shared area. If I go into the content, what you're doing is, if I go into this SmartCo component, this is simply Planning Analytics reports, entry mechanisms already done. So if I was an end user and I wanted to view a report, or if I wanted to go ahead and enter in my budgets, I simply open up a workbook that or what we call in Planning Analytics, a book that my administrator has, or the person who's created the budgets have enabled for me, and from it I can go ahead and see the various components where I can go ahead and enter in my revenue forecast, or analyze my revenue forecast, etc. So what you're seeing in front of you is an example of what Planning Analytics capabilities look like. I will get into the functionality of them in a moment. I just wanted to show you what the end result would look like. I also wanted to show you that when you use Planning Analytics, you still get the old components of TM1 with it. So you still get Architect, you still get Perspectives, you do get Cafe, and from this you can actually enable, if you still wanted to use the contributor workflow capabilities, you can, and if you still wanted to use your web sheets, you can as well. So as you can see from the contributor screen, from the workflow screen, I was able to open up my TM1 web sheets and go ahead and enter in my forecast, just like you would. Sorry, let me get this out of the way. There we go. Just like you would normally. Okay, so that is the just kind of what the end results may look like. Let me close that down and let me go ahead and start building in Planning Analytics. So when you hit the Planning Analytics icon up there on the top, basically you can give your name a new book. So I could just call this my demo. And then you can do various ways. So for example, if you just wanted to do one object, you can click this grid right here. If you wanted to do something with a horizontal grid on top and then something underneath it, you can. And you can see that that comes with a whole bunch of them. What I like to use though is the freeform one, simply because then you can drag and drop as many objects as you want on there, as you'll see in a moment. And then of course you can determine whether you want to do a tabbed format if you're just going to do a single page. Usually You want to do a tab format so that you can have multiple content, as you saw on that example I first showed. So when I select freeform, you'll note that my TM1 servers that are started are showing, and I can actually see my web sheets here, and you'll be able to drag and drop your web sheets onto the Planning Analytics grid, or of course you'll be able to also see your cubes and your dimensions, your subsets, everything that was created in TM1. And so what I can do, for example, is I can go to a particular cube, and I can click on it, and if I expand it, you'll see that I see the dimensions in that cube. I can see all my views in that cube, and then I can simply drag and drop the view that I want. Or if I don't want a view that's already created, if I wanted to create a new view, I simply right-click and hit New View. And up will come this screen, which basically says, okay, it's a cross-tab format. Let's start building, an entry grid, a report, whatever it is you wanted to build in Planning Analytics. So, for example, I could basically say, let's, see my channel on my rows. Let's see my months on my columns. Okay, and then so you're simply just dragging and dropping, in this case, a revenue type report or entry grid into Planning Analytics. Now you notice you have the context area here where I can drag and drop the other dimensions in one by one if I want. But what's a really cool feature is you have your bench here, this blue dot, dot, dot. And from it, it's saying, well, these are the other dimensions that you can put in, all the other dimensions in the cube. And I could simply just go ahead and hit Add All, and now they're all added to my grid. And I basically have, the makings of an entry grid that quickly, or of a report. Now, if I hit this thing up here, this is basically giving me the icons available of what I could do. So, for example, I can graph, I can put in a title, I can delete it, I can duplicate it, I can use my sandbox. And I'm going to get into a bunch of these things. Here's the new snap commands, which are really cool, I'll get into. But what I want to do really quickly is I want to just go ahead and duplicate this object. And the reason why I want to duplicate it is because then very quickly I can change it into a graph. And these are so what Planning Analytics is going to do is it's going to recommend the types of graphs that would probably work best with this data. You can access other graphs if you want, if you don't think this is good enough. So here I have a graph based on the crosstab above. I could, for example, swap my rows and columns. I can go ahead and hide my dimensions because on the graph I don't need to see them. And so now very quickly I have a crosstab and a graph based on that crosstab. And if I highlight both, I can go up to this icon here, and I can go ahead and synchronize by simply clicking the synchronize button here. And so now when I, for example, change the year, when I click on the year, if I change it from 2015 to 2014, you'll notice the numbers change and the graph changes. So they're synchronized, and that's great for when you're building a dashboard, you're building reporting. You simply want one place to interface. Now, what I could also do is I can put in some filters, if you will. So, for example, if I go to my year dimension and I right-click on it, I can do what we say is add a selector widget, and it's going to go ahead and enter. Add all the components that are available in that dimension. I could also go to my measures, and I can do the same thing. And again, it's going to add it. Now, if I click on one, notice the data is going to change. And what I'll do is I'll simply just drag and drop that down. Notice how the arrows come in, so it's going to help me align it so that it looks good. And what I can do now is I can go here to 2015. I can go ahead and put in a title. I can say for my users, select a year, and I can go here and I can go select a measure, and very quickly I'm getting into very quickly I have filters for my end users on this dashboard so they could start analyzing, in this case, revenue data. So I have a tab, and then I can double click on that tab, and I can rename it, and I can call it my revenue analysis. And that's how quick it is and easy it is to start building things within Planning Analytics. You'll note that it has the fresh, crisp new interface. It has the ease of use. It's very easy to use, and it looks good. And it's very quick. Now what I could do is I can go ahead and build another tab, and again, it's going to give me the different types of forms that I want. I'll just do freeform. I'll close down my cubes here, or just minimize them, and I'll go to my applications, and I'll go to my revenue tab that I have built in TM1 Web Sheets. So this is what we built in Perspectives. Yes, you can still put it in TM1 Web, but you can also put those those Excel forms that you're building in the Planning Analytics. So that for example, if I wanted to go ahead now and enter in my budgets, I can. You have the same interface, the same functionality, that sort of thing. So you'll notice that you have a couple other graphs here. So for example, I could say let's add a shape. Why on earth would you want to add a shape? Well, if I go back here, move this over a little, make it a little bigger, drag and drop it down. What I could do, and then of course what I want to do is I don't like that color. Let's make it match more the color of what we already have. Then I can go to my text, and here's a text that I have. I can now drag and drop it over that shape, so I can have a little contrast color. And now when I'm putting in my text on this, I can double click here, and I can start entering in my budget instructions. So very quickly, I can make it easy for my end users. For example, enter new product SKUs on product admin tab. Next one is I could say enter existing SKUs on unit forecast tab. And I could keep going. I can, so very quickly, just put in my budget instructions for my users right there so they can see it. I can format this. So for example, if I want to make it bold, underline it, italics it, center it, left justify it, right justify it, make the font bigger and easy to see, I can do all that from here. And now, from this one screen, you have your revenue forecast tab where people can go ahead and enter in their forecast. They see their instructions, and I can just go ahead and type in my revenue forecast. So you get the idea here. You're starting to build an entry portal where people can enter in their data. They can do their analysis, all from this Planning Analytics interface. And I could keep going. Let's say, for example, I wanted to create a little bit more complex of a dashboard based on something different. Instead of basing it on my revenue, maybe I want to base it on, for example, my income statement. Well, I can go to my views, and I could, for example, drop an existing view on there. Let's put on my OPEX view. And if I don't like that view, I can delete it. I can go to actually just the one that I wanted to say, OPEX view. There we go. And I could make it bigger so that people can see all the columns and rows. And then I can start adding my new stuff. So I wanted to add a new grid here. Let's say I wanted to put in different dimensions to start analyzing this. Let's say I wanted to put months. Now you notice I've been just dragging dimensions, but what if you wanted to have access to your subsets or your level? Notice they're called sets in Planning Analytics, but for those of you who use TM1, that basically is subsets in TM1. So I can access my subsets, I can level my levels of this dimension, or I can just go to the members themselves. So for example, if I go to a subset, if I just want to put in my months, now it's just bringing in my months. So very quickly, you can put in months. Let's say if I wanted to go to my organization, I can go to my members. I can put in my total company there. If I go to my account dimension, for example, I can go to my members again, and I want to put in a particular number. I want to put in my total operating expense up here. And then, of course, what I want to do is change this to a graph real quick. I want to get rid of the dimensions. I want to make sure this is about halfway through. There we go. And I'll make this a little smaller. And so, this very quickly, I can start building a dashboard where I'm going, I'm kind of, I'm making another view here. Instead of using, I can use different dimensions, so I can go to my year dimension. I can go to my subsets again, and I can just put years on there. I go to my versions dimension, go to a subset again. And the reason why I'm doing this is I want to show you a really cool filter capability that we have. Let's just put my 3 versions there. And I'll go back to my accounts again. Minimize some of these things. And I'll go to my members again. And the reason why I'm doing this is I want to show you a capability with a slider bar, if you will, to kind of, and I want to put my total operating expense again. In this case, I will do my graph for a column chart. Make it bigger. Make it a little smaller. There we go. And then underneath, you notice I left room underneath, so if I expand all this, so expand it up. So you notice what it does if I start expanding, then it goes. So if you can actually set a limit here so that if it expands 5 levels, the screen changes so it doesn't take up so much real estate here. So it just kind of defaults back to the regular area. So if I go to my subsets, if I go to my operating expense and I add that as a selector widget, there it is. But now what I want to do is I want to make this a data player. And so if I expand this all the way over, now all I have to do is go ahead and synchronize my views of my graphs here. So I go ahead and hit synchronize. Now instead of synchronizing on all the dimensions, I just want to synchronize on account. So I go ahead and select synchronize. But when I hit play now, watch the graphs and the charts. So they're now all going to change. So you can kind of make these dashboards and these graphs, and I can pause it. You can make these dashboards interactive, okay? And so it's just a little bit more complex of a dashboard that you're building within Planning Analytics. And then, of course, I can rename it and call this my OpEx analysis. And there are a couple of, and then I'll go ahead and do a new tab again. Now, one of the things that we also provide are searches within Planning Analytics. So instead of having to go in through all your subsets and all your cubes, what if you could just say, well, I want to search for travel in Canada. I simply type in search for travel in Canada, and what it's going to do is it's going to look for all the different potential cubes that I have. Let me just redo that real quick. Travel in Canada. So what it's going to, if I could spell. So it's still, even though I misspelled it, it recognizes that I'm trying to look for travel in Canada. And so what I could do is I could say, well, I want this first cube. You notice it's going to find all the potential cubes that might have travel in Canada. I'm just going to use this first one. That's not what I want. So maybe I did mess up by not typing it right. So let me just type it in right and slowly here so I do it right. There we go. And so I want the income statement cube. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and use it. And so there you have, very quickly, you could start, instead of clicking here and dragging and drop, you can just simply say, I'm looking for a particular cube with particular data, and it will bring up, it'll look through all the areas for that. And then I can go to this bar where we had the snap commands, for example, and I can go to snap commands, and you can do that within the cube now. So for example, if I want to drill on travel, I just type drill travel, and it will drill on travel. If I want to drill on Canada, I drill on Canada. If I want to swap my rows and columns, I just hit swap and it swaps. And so you can see there's a bunch of different snap commands that come with the product where you can simply type in the snap commands. You can actually start very quickly find the things that you're looking for. It makes it very, if you have large data sets, a lot of cubes, a lot of dimensions, it makes it very easy to find things. Now I can actually do a more sophisticated search. I could say show all accounts for entire organization. And it's going to now go through and search for all the accounts, and I'm going to use my income statement account again. And I'm going to use it, and you can see that if I make this bigger or smaller, you can see that it's coming up with a bunch of, it's coming up with a cube that's showing my income statement accounts. Now what I can do is I could say, okay, I could change to a particular subset, or I can go to a particular level. So let's just on my, let's just show my regional level. So there you go. On this, let's just kind of minimize, my operating expenses. I don't need to see all the different sub-accounts. Maybe I just want to see at the top account level. So there you go. You have a very quick and cube there. I could highlight a particular cell within this cube. I can right-click on that cube, and I can go add that to the canvas. So now it becomes kind of like a metric that you want to see. And I can go to the properties of that, and I could basically say show it as a number and abbreviate the numbers. And so now you have that. I can go and put in text, and I can type in my text, and I can say net profit and I can highlight that text. I can go to my text properties. I can bold it. I can make it a different color. I can make it bigger. There we go. And then, of course, I can drag and drop it. And now you have a label. Come on, computer. There we go. And now you have a label with that. And, of course, I can go ahead and put in various. So we're on my income statement cube. For example, if I wanted to put my version dimension as a filter, I can add it. If I wanted to put my year as a filter, I can add it. And so now I have these different filters. So just like I did before, I have these different filters that I can drag and drop into this area. I can go ahead and select, I can type in the text again, but you've already got the point there about selecting the text. I can go ahead and synchronize this so that when I change the filter, hold on, I'm going too fast. There we go. So that when I choose a filter, the data will change on the graph and on the report. And of course, I can call this my income statement analysis. And so just a couple more things really quickly. We also can take advantage of the metrics that TM1 has, so that if you already have your views of your scorecards and charts, I can simply drag them on. Here you can see we have a scorecard cube that I can bring in. I can also bring in my chart, for example, bring it in. But it's not showing as a chart, so it's very easy to get it to show as a chart. Just go ahead and go to the icon above, and I'll change it into the SmartCo. There we go. And so, of course, I can make that smaller so you can see it. And then we have the impact analysis, which you can also add in. And so if I scroll down, again, it's the same thing. Just change it to my impact analysis. And so all the capabilities of the metrics are on here, and then of course I can call this my scorecard. So very quickly, I'm making a very complex book or a very sophisticated book where I'm putting in revenue, I'm putting all this different analysis. And one further thing is, you notice that we have these icons up here that will put in, for example, an image for a company. So you might want to put in budget instructions, or you might want to do something. So for example, I have some links already set up where I can go ahead and put in that image. I'll just highlight that, put it in, and there you go. You have your company image there. I can go ahead and put in a web page. I can put in a video or some kind of media. So if I go to my link again, here I have a YouTube video attached. So what's the, maybe you want to attach a video for your people of how to, use this product, how to enter the budgets. So I can go ahead and drag and drop that down. And then finally, I can add a web page to do the same thing. Here I'm just adding IBM's web page. And so very quickly, you can put in budget instructions, you can put in videos, you can put in your company logos. On this tab, on the tabs where you're doing this, you could have done that on these tabs, whatever. I'm just kind of showing it separately. But these are the very quickly the capabilities of planning analytics, where you can add, do your dashboards, do your scorecards, do filters, do analysis, put in your entry grids, your TM1 web sheets, your perspectives information there, do more sophisticated dashboards, highlight metrics, still use the scorecarding capability of TM1, and embed videos, web sheets, links, whatever it is you need to do. So that's basically what I wanted to show with planning analytics. Sanjeev, do you want to take it from here?
Yes. So, Mike, I just had one question. So, once you build something, so first of all, thank you so much. It was very impressive. Once you build this out, how easy is it to collaborate with my team?
So that's a good question. So there's a product. There was a product called Concert that was available with TM1 Cloud. So before Planning Analytics came out, you had TM1 Cloud, and Concert was a collaborative task-based workflow that basically had a built-in app for your mobile device. If you go up here, you can see that you have conversations where you can actually start a conversation with your people in a kind of like a Twitter-type approach, where you're going ahead and saying, hey, Sanjeev, can you please look at the revenue analysis tab? Revenue is down, and then when he sends that out, it would appear here on the board, but it also would appear to your phone. That was the functionality that Concert had. They are adding that to Planning Analytics. It also has the ability to put the task-based workflow on it, so you can go ahead and put your task-based and your things like that. A lot of this is it's not 100% ready. You can see that they're adding it to the software. It will be ready, I'm told, sometime this quarter. So it is their intent to put all the functionality of Concert, where you can collaborate with your people, into Planning Analytics. It's a little bit here yet. It's not all the way there. It will be there shortly. Does that
Great.
answer
And the
the
nice
question?
thing about it did, and it's very impressive. It's got the TM1 engine in the back. It's got the reporting. It's got the Watson Analytics. It looks great. And the nice thing is, even if with the changes coming out, if you take the cloud option, you don't have to basically worry about it, because if you're hosting it, IBM does the upgrades, and you just start seeing the new features. So that's fantastic. I think, yeah, I don't have any more questions. Maybe we can leave the rest questions for our Q&A session. So now would be a good time to switch back. But yeah, just wanted to go over some of the things. You know, we've seen the poll, and it's actually in line to a lot of companies who are actually still considering whether they should go to the cloud. And so wanted to put up here something that will help in making the decision a little easier. It's a discussion you could have with, you know, the higher ups in your organization, where you actually see the benefit of going with the cloud, where it's a low entry cost. I'll get more into the details in a few minutes, but it's a reduced risk. It's more of an operational expense because now it's a cloud and you're paying on a monthly or yearly contract. There's not a whole lot of infrastructure costs associated to this, and as I mentioned, you know, you have you don't have to worry about IT managing any upgrades or wait any downtimes. This is all takes place in the contract that you get with IBM. Basically lays out you know, when upgrades are going to be done, how often you'll be you know, you will get some prior notification before this happens, but it definitely will give you better support. Always have the latest and greatest. You have the you know, ability to kind of control how you want, what type of cloud you want, and we'll get into that with the SLA in the next slide. So these are some quick benefits of the planning analytics on the cloud. As I mentioned, you know, it's all going to be managed with the IBM team. So first of all, you have the enterprise deployments. TM1 is a multi-tiered architecture. What that means is you can have everything installed on one machine, or you could break it down into multiple tiers, which will help in managing more users, better performance, and so on. So I want to talk a little bit about the application tier, where if you're selecting the single tier level, basically you can go either with a multi-tenant and single tenant for Cognos, the database tier. The application tier is deployed using continuous development practices. So basically, your tier 1 engine will be upgraded on schedule by IBM. Any hot fixes, fixed packs will be taken care of by IBM, right? So no IT involvement. IBM customers will get new features such as the ones that Mike just mentioned about. Functionalities will be coming out frequently, and you will get notifications in advance, and customers will not have the option to defer the upgrades of the application tier as they're being shared with the entire customer base. On the next slide, we talk about the TM1 tier. So you have two different options when you're going with the TM1, the database tier. So you've got the premium option and the standard option. The premium option basically will give you a dedicated private, either virtual or physical environment, so you don't have to worry about sharing your TM1 database server with other organizations. You get a 512 gigabytes of RAM, which is pretty sizable, and then you also have the option to upgrade whenever you are ready to do the upgrade. Same thing with standard. You do have the upgrade flexibility, but you get the 64 gigs of RAM, and you are on a single tenant virtual environment, which runs on a multi-tenant physical infrastructure. So it's kind of like having more of a Cognos Express for those clients who are using Cognos Express, which is for clients with less than certain users. I believe it's 100 users and less get the Cognos Express. So standard is still a good option to start with. Now, for those of you who are new to the product and looking for a planning and forecasting solution, I would recommend starting off with a standard, and then you always have the option of upgrading to the premium level whenever needed. So keep that in mind. All right, next slide. This is a quick, if you're getting into this, what an SLA typically looks like. So the service level agreement is a contractual agreement between your company and the cloud service, which is going to be IBM. where it basically lays out availability percentage-wise. There's some calculations here that actually tell you how much downtime and uptime you have, and basically based on that, you do get some credit back. If, for example, the system was down for 10% of the time, then you do get some credit back. But being IBM, we haven't heard of any clients facing such issues. You have much better access to your environment. I think looking at the calculation below will kind of help you. This is all going to be based on the contract, so it makes it much easier when you're making that decision. Next slide. Let's talk about pricing. So we will be sharing this webcast to a global audience, and so we didn't want to put pricing out there, but do send us an email and we'll be more than happy to help you out with the pricing. I just wanted to show over here the highlighted red options are the typical ones that you would need to just get started. So you need one part of the first one and 10 parts of the second one to get started with planning analytics. So and you have options of monthly contracts and then 1, 3, and 5 year contracts. So obviously the longer the contracts, the price drops, and it's much more cost efficient when you take a longer term contract. But definitely it's very affordable. We do software management, and so if you have any questions, send us an email. I'm more than happy to look into it for you at no cost. All right, next slide. We have some clients joining us, and for those who are still using Enterprise Planning, EP, how do you migrate to TM1 and then to Planning Analytics? So first of all, we do have a service that is an assessment phase. So we kind of look at what you have today in Enterprise Planning and how you want to move to TM1 or Planning Analytics, followed by a total cost of migration, total cost of ownership, and your licenses, which makes this decision-making much easier when you are going to present to the decision makers. But Enterprise Planning has reached its limits. There, for those of you who are still using it, I can almost see you guys shaking your heads. It was a good technology for the early 2000s and prior to that, but now with all the limitations where you actually have to start breaking your models just to make sure that they survive on your EP server is reaching that limit. So this is where products like TM1 and Planning Analytics can help, where you have the performance modeler, which can help in migrating a lot of this stuff over, better server usage, and you do get a larger user base with migrating to the TM1 product. There's also a migration utility that does convert parts of the Enterprise Planning to TM1. And the nice thing is your contributor licenses from Enterprise Planning will still get upgraded to the TM1 contributor licenses, Planning Analytics. So it does reduce your licensing cost to some point. And then you do have the real-time reporting. You don't have to worry about multiple job servers just to run your processes. And as we saw, we do get the options of building dashboards and having mobile delivery of reports and analysis based on what the industry is moving towards. All right, next slide. So just a quick recap. Planning Analytics automates manual spreadsheets, based planning, budgeting, forecasting, reporting, and analysis. We do have components of the predictive side that comes from the Watson Analytics that you do have access to as well. It takes your operational tactics to financial plans and synthesizes information and infers your trends. It enables the dimensional analysis and calculations for in-depth profitability and scenario analytics. So you still get that TM1 write-back functionality, and it does facilitate a rapid on-cloud deployment across the organization. It makes the collaboration much easier, and as we saw, definitely the cost reduction by moving from on-prem to cloud is attractive as well. So I think is that my last slide, or do we have some more? Right, so this is the Q&A session. I'm going to hand it off to Candace.
Thank you, Sanjeev, and thank you, Michael, for a great presentation and demo. We do have some questions to go over, but again, if you have a question, please ask your question on the questions section on your control panel, and we'll try to get through it and answer all the questions today. This first question, I believe, is for you, Mike. In regards to planning analytics, how do you make your analysis into a presentation, and can you export it to a PowerPoint?
So analysis into a PowerPoint. There are, so I mean, the capabilities, you have the ability to save it as an Excel file or a flat file. I don't know if they're going to be including PowerPoint into the future, but once it's saved into an Excel file, you can then transfer that to PowerPoint. I will have to do further check on that and see what the long-term effects are on that, but I do not know if they have that capability yet. So you would have to. The short term is you would do it to Excel and then get it to PowerPoint, and I'll check it and see when we're going to directly to PowerPoint. I know that we have that in other products, so I think it's just a matter of time for that.
Thanks, Michael. So yeah, Anthony, I know you asked that question, so we'll be sure to follow up with you directly and get you a little bit more information on that. The second question that we have is, Mike, this is for you as well. What is the future for IBM Cognos TM1?
The future is, so as you can see, for all of you, those of you, I know that a lot of you on this call are current TM1 customers, or even Cognos Planning customers. The current components of TM1, so when you buy Planning Analytics, you still get Architect, you still get Perspectives, you still get TM1 web sheets, you still get Contributor, as you saw when I opened that in the beginning. You can get all those, you still get all those components. Because as you could see when I had Planning Analytics, I wasn't actually building dimensions or cubes. I was simply just taking the content that was already built and dragging and dropping it on. So the intent and the future for Planning Analytics and TM1 is to have two interfaces. It's to have Planning Analytics and Café as the interfaces. And what that means is that Planning Analytics will have the capabilities of Architect and or Performance Modeler in it, so that you will be able to build everything from a web-based environment in Planning Analytics. You will then be able to build your dimensions, build your cubes, do your processes, do your chores. Everything that Architect can do will be put into Planning Analytics. I don't know the time frame for that. I do know that that's something they're currently working on. And then, of course, Café would be the portion that would be taking over Perspectives. And the reason for that is that Café works much better over a wide area network than Perspectives does. For those of you who have used Perspectives over a wide area network, you may have noticed that there's poorer performance. So with the Café capabilities, it's built for a wide area network environment. It's much quicker. And Café will have all the capabilities of Perspectives, and it indeed is almost there. With this new release of Planning Analytics, Café can do action buttons now, and it also can do web sheets. So that's the long-term limit. Now that's the long-term goal. That being said, there are not, and I repeat, there are not any current plans for sunsetting of Architect or Perspectives. So I know that a lot of people who use TM1 love those products. The future for TM1 is Planning Analytics and Café, but there are currently no sunsets for Architect and Perspectives. And additionally, one further note, Planning Analytics is also going to become available as an on-prem solution. Right now, it's currently only available as a cloud solution. Within a few months, maybe a quarter, it will be available as a on-prem solution as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Michael. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, so that's all the time we have for questions today. If you did ask a question, we will reach out to you directly if you did not get an answer on this call today. Before we end the webcast, well, if you could please advance to the next slide, I do want to let you guys know of a couple more upcoming events. We will have a Cognos Analytics webcast next week on January 20th, on Wednesday, and we will be demoing the new Cognos Analytics and talking about what's new with Cognos BI. And we also have some upcoming IBM Planning Analytics and Cognos Analytics workshops in California, Dallas, and Boston. So if you are in any of those areas and you would like to attend a complimentary workshop, please feel free to register with the links that you see on your screen. And I will also be emailing everyone the links to these events in the follow-up email along with the recording of the webcast. Just want to thank you all again for joining the webcast today. We do appreciate any and all comments you have regarding our webcast. It is important for us to craft our webcast around what our audience is looking for, so please feel free to reach out to us. Also, you can connect with us via the phone number you see on our screen or our website, and also you can email us if you have any more questions or you want to know a little bit more about the pricing, or any other questions really related around IBM Planning Analytics. Please feel free to reach out to us. This does conclude the webcast for today. Sanjeev and Michael, do you guys have anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just want to say I missed this point, but basically for production and development or QA environments, when I spoke about the licenses, you do get a production and a non-production environment along with it, including the price. So if that answers some of the questions, but if there are any more, we will reach out to you via email. But thank you very much for attending, and we're always here to answer your questions. We have our contact information, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Great. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.